at that point, that was like where I was like, well, I love what I'm doing, and I have no interest in, opening a restaurant anymore. But it definitely brought this bigger respect to what they do.
You're listening to the Bar and Restaurant Podcast, where hospitality lovers come to listen and learn with expert David DiLorenzo.
With Diana Brandt, AZ Foodie. How are you?
Good, how are you?
I am well. We have met, I think, like 3 times. So what's really cool about this is I don't know shit about you. And so I'm excited to learn and, kind of get a feel for who you are. And we know what you do. I mean, anybody that's probably watching this or listening to this is a fan of yours already. So
well, I hope so.
And more fans to come. Let's start from the beginning of birth. Where were you born? Was it San Diego?
Yes, okay. I was born in San Diego. I lived there probably until I was around 8, at which time we moved to Seattle. And then I don't remember what year it was, but I was like 21, 22. We moved down here to Phoenix, and I've been here ever since.
Nice. And so I assume you go back to San Diego for vacations like all of us Phoenicians do? Or?
All the time, yes. Yeah. The kids love it there.
Do you enjoy the food scene out there?
Yeah, I think it's great. They have a lot of good food, just a lot of great food over there. Yeah. It's so dense too, as far as like anywhere you go around San Diego, you can just find tons of great options. That's
awesome. And then Seattle. So
Seattle's so good too.
You love Seattle, didn't you? Yeah. And you grew up as a kid, obviously from 8 to and then high school and all that through there.
Kind of college.
But,
when you live there, we didn't realize how good we had it until we moved down here, and it was chain restaurant central. Mm-hmm. And there was no local food scene at all when we moved down here. It was like we'd eat at Red Robin. That was, that was great.
Yeah. So you Red Robin. It's like
that was what we had.
Chili's.
That was it.
Yeah. That's too funny. When you left Seattle, you were 22. When you say we, who came with you?
It was my boyfriend at the time, who is now my husband.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you've been married for a while.
No, we've been together a long time, but I was not ready for marriage or a family. Yeah. So we were together for quite a long time before that happened. We've only been married almost 9 years.
Okay.
So yeah. So it's a very small part compared to like how long we've actually been together, which I think is like 17, 18 years.
So doesn't it, like after you get married, doesn't it just all add up and say we've been married 17 years?
No. But also by that time it was like being married felt no different than what we had actually done.
Yeah. And from just looking at you online, you look very close to your family and you love your family and all that. So was it a job that moved you guys down here or?
Back then when I was that age, you're young, you're naive, and my now husband, he's a lot older.
Okay.
And so I have a stepson, his son, who is in his early 20s now.
Oh, wow.
We were moving down. He was moving down here, I should say, to be closer to his son, who I think at the time was like 8.
Okay.
8 or 9, I can't remember. And so at that point, I think we'd been together maybe a year or so. And I was like, oh, that sounds great. I'll come with you. And he was like, okay. And that was how it happened.
And that was it. So, okay. So that was your first time, obviously, to Arizona. And you just you were here. You've been here ever since. And
been
like
here
you
ever
said,
since.
it was Red Robin's and Chili's and Applebee's and all that sort of stuff. What was it about the food scene that kind of struck your attention as far as localness, like when it first started coming to you?
When I started AZ Foodie 6 years ago, I had been working in food events, and to be honest, I really felt like I was going to open my own bakery. Like that was what I wanted to do. And so I was baking out of my house. I was baking stuff for people, practicing, doing like classes here and there when I could. And then I met these people at this, it was called the World Championship and Forum. And it was this incredible international competition and classes. It was a 2-week long thing. It was held here. I started working for them. We're talking about like really incredibly talented people in the industry. And they were like, don't do it. Do not open a bakery. Like, just don't.
Unless you can put weed in it.
I know, right? Don't do it. It's not worth the time. Like, it'll suck your life and you won't be able to. I think I was pregnant. They were like, you need to, you know, you're going to want to be with your family.
Yeah.
And little did I know how correct they were. You know, I was still pretty new to like what it took to own that kind of a business. Mm-hmm. And so my passion really like came to life with that event because I fell in love with like the passion that they had, the chaos and that behind the scenes. And obviously just in general, I loved food. Yeah. And so all that I knew I had to do something in food and I didn't know what it was, but I knew it. And so I had my first child. I worked with actually Tida and Rick way back when. Love that was them. A long, long time ago. I think it was either their first or second year in business. Yeah. I interned and worked with them for about a full season of events, which was a lot back then. We had like the Tucson Taco Fest, the surprise barbecue fest. Yeah, it was like, so that was a lot of fun too. And then after that, I got hired on to do mom events. Okay. And I did that for a while and it didn't click.
Well, let's before we get into that, let's talk about being a mom. So you have 2 kids?
I have 2 kids now. Yeah.
Okay. And also a step kid.
Yes.
Okay. So 3.
3.
Okay. 2 boys?
Yes. All of them are boys. The oldest just turned 9 and then my littlest is 4.
Very cool. Very cool. And my assumption is being a mom is like the greatest job ever.
It's the hardest job ever.
Yeah.
The best and the worst.
Best and the worst. Yeah. My wife would say the same thing. And before you fell in love with food and got into all this, you worked at the Gap?
I worked just in weird jobs. The Gap was probably like my first job and that was because my sister worked there. So I decided I wanted to work there. Yeah. I worked at the University of Washington, which also my brother and my sister and my mom worked at. Okay. Where else did I work? I worked at like Whole Foods. I worked at Quiznos. I worked at in a restaurant. I worked where else? I think that was it. Okay. Those were the majority. And then when we moved down here, I worked at a mortgage company. Until that came crashing down.
Oh, yeah. I remember that year.
That was a sad year for all of us. And then at that point, I just kind of flip-flopped. But all through those years, I just felt like lost. Yeah. Like none of that was appealing to me. I wasn't happy where I was. I didn't have that passion. And it wasn't until I started doing AZ Foodie that feeling it went away.
Just went away.
It went away.
You found the passion.
Yeah,
Isn't
and it
great
was crazy.
When it just hits you. It's like
crazy, yeah.
Find it and it's there.
Yeah, I mean that feeling had been in me for so long that when it was gone, it was amazing. Yeah, that weight was lifted.
So now you're AZ Foodie. You're getting started. Things are going on, and kind of reverting back to when you wanted to start a bakery and do some other stuff. My assumption is you're very empathetic towards restaurant owners. Like you get it, you understand. It's like, it's hard work.
Yeah, no, it was, I didn't know at first. Right. And as I did AZ Foodie and, created these, cause the great thing about, I guess, how it all happened is I formed really good relationships with a lot of the chefs and, Gio, who does Virtu, was probably one of the first people to really support me. And when I'd be like, hey, I want to do this idea, he'd be like, sure. And then it was Stephen Jones. And so those two really brought me in and have been such great friends and family friends. But they also allowed me to hear the other side of it. Right. And so it was from them and so many others that I started to see how much time and how much life that they put into their restaurants and how little they saw their families or did anything else and still even get to do, their life is that work.
Yeah.
And at that point, that was like where I was like, well, I love what I'm doing, and
Right.
I have no interest in, opening a restaurant anymore. But it definitely brought this bigger respect
For
to
sure.
what they do, and wanting to continue to help them.
Yeah. And what a cool gift that you now have when you've been doing this 6 years now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 6 years later, and with all the followers you have and with all the impressions you get and all the attention and all that sort of stuff, when you want to help those, men and women that are working their ass off and trying to build their local restaurant, you can do that.
Yeah.
That's a really cool position to be in.
Sometimes we forget how much of an impact some stuff can have.
Yeah.
And maybe it's not everything. Maybe we don't know because it's hard to track some of that stuff as well. But I think just a couple weeks ago, maybe it's been a week, I decided to go to this taco place. I won't name it, but
Yeah.
I'd never been. It just had been on my list because it looked good. I wanted to go check it out. And I went there, and the guy, he started telling me how much he was struggling, and he had started a couple months ago, and they weren't getting anything, and it was his and his mom, and his mom and him would make the food all morning, and then he would go out and do the truck in the afternoon, and just like,
Yeah.
that's the kind of
It
thing that
pulls
like
at your
tears
heart.
at your heart. And
Yeah.
his food is so good, and I was happy to be able to share it,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize how much of like he would see. So I posted, and literally that video that I posted of him on Facebook has gotten close to 1 million views. Now this is no longer a local thing, right? On Facebook, it went like viral,
Yeah.
but even on Instagram, it went huge. And he said, after you posted, people started coming immediately
Wow.
that night. And he's been selling out almost every single day since.
That's awesome.
And so for me, that just kind of brought me back to, this is why I'm doing this. Like, this guy, he probably wouldn't have made it much longer, but he has such good food. And I was able to just put it out there because it was good, and people came and they like it too. And you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, it's in a way, it's like when you were a kid, did you ever want to be, I don't know, Superman or Wonder Woman or Batman or anything like that?
No.
Like a superhero? Well, so now you're a food superhero. Thinking about it, you come in with your magic powers. And I think the thing for people to keep in mind is that you know what good food is because you try so much stuff.
Yeah.
And taste buds aside,
Exactly.
everybody
It's like
has kind of their own taste. I get that. But there's a difference between good quality, homemade, sort of stuff, whether it's your thing or not, or not naming restaurants, but, your normal chain sort of just been thrown together sort of stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
And not that chains are bad. There's some good ones out there, I'm sure.
Everybody, yeah. And that was the hard thing too, coming in was, I didn't start AZ Foodie as like a place to rate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like back when I started, there was no such thing as influencer. Like I was just
Right.
posting as a way to show what was out there.
Yeah.
And have people share back like what was out there, because it was such a growing food scene.
Yep.
And still to this day, there's too much. I haven't touched, very much of it. But then it started becoming this thing like, oh, well, you should only post like certain things that are good enough or whatever. And what I found was everybody has a different palette. You know what I mean? Obviously, there's things that I do not post. But for the most part, AZ Foodie was always supposed to be just a place where you could find.
And so 6
out
years
about the
ago,
new
that
stuff.
handle was available.
Yeah.
You grabbed it all up. And did that just come to you, or you just kind of like, I'm
I
gonna
don't
do
even
this?
remember. I
Yeah.
think I remember sitting like in a red chair at my house, my old house, and talking to my husband about it and being like, okay, well, people are sick of seeing my food pictures on my, personal page. So I'm going to start this account just to post food. Like, here's what's available. What should I do? And I don't remember what the other choices were, but we felt like AZ Foodie rolled off the tongue the best. And that was it.
Absolutely did. Yeah. And
There we go.
And now at this point, do you have groupies? Do you have people that eat you up quite a bit, or?
Yes. Yes. I have the very loyal people that I love too.
That's
They're great.
awesome. Yeah.
I'm here because of them.
And so, like, when I was in the record business, as you'd seen in my office
Yes.
there, I would have those loyal people that would hit me up for concert tickets all the time. So how often do you get hit up for,
People actually don't hit me up for that kind of stuff. You know what I get hit up for all the time is just recommendations.
Yeah.
That's like the thing. all the time. Where do I eat here? What do I do for this? My wife, my girlfriend,
You're like
how
a
do I impress?
concierge
Yeah.
of Arizona. Yeah, that's too much. And I know you do some hotel work as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'll travel for food.
Yeah, and staycations.
Yeah,
I've seen that you've done some of
staycations
those and
are
everything.
great and very food based.
Yeah, for
as
sure.
well.
Yeah, these restaurants, I mean, if they don't have an inner peace to keep you there, as far as a good food or good restaurant, they're not doing their job basically.
Yeah.
What's your definition of foodie?
I don't even know. So that was another thing when I started. It stopped now, but I remember back in the day, people would be like, "Oh, this isn't a foodie post. You can't call yourself a foodie. You're not AZ Foodie." And I'd be like, "Dude, I didn't even care about, like, it was just an Instagram handle. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Like, what is foodie?" I remember somebody posted a definition of it one time because they felt like it wasn't right that I called myself that. And I was like, that's nice. Like, I could call myself anything. It's just an Instagram handle.
Yeah.
It sounded better than AZ Food. I don't know.
So
AZ Foodie.
I think that's a great definition right there. It's just, I am Diana and here's my handle,
There wasn't that much thought
Yeah.
behind anything back then because
it
everything was so organic and nobody was trying to be an influencer,
Yeah, no, I hear you. Instagram has been huge for you. I know you do stuff on Facebook as well.
Yeah.
And what are some other like media means that have worked for you to build up your brand?
Well, I have the blog, which has been around for a long time. Just doing stuff on TV was big in the beginning, even radio, which I still do both of those, has been a lot of fun. And then doing events. I do a lot with events still, whether they have me or hosting my own events. And that kind of goes back to my initial like intro into the food scene, right? I started in events and I've always loved events, and being able to host my own event was something I always wanted to do.
Yeah.
It just didn't make sense until it happened, and it was the perfect timing for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the events here locally. Like I see you out at pretty much a lot. I mean, Devour's great. That's coming up.
Yeah.
I know you just did one last weekend, didn't you? When was it? I was on your website. I saw a barbecue one or something.
I post about events, but I do not attend a lot of events anymore.
Okay.
But I have.
But
I've been to probably all of them.
Yeah.
I go to probably none of them now.
Really?
Except for my own.
Yeah, except for your own events. And what are some of your own events?
My biggest event right now is Smoked,
Okay.
and that is on April 4th. It's from noon to 4, and I do it at Ocotillo because I do a lot of work with Ocotillo.
Great, yeah.
And their space is perfect.
Yep.
So,
They have that whole back area that you
yeah.
can do all that, and the weather's perfect then as well.
So Smoked came out of this idea of creating my perfect event.
Okay.
What I would want to experience as a guest
Yeah.
and as a chef in a food event.
So what is that?
So the first thing is there's a few events that do not have lines, right? I love those. Those were my favorite. Like I either want to get in early before there's mass crowds of thousands of people, or I want the VIP so that there's less of a crowd. But then what happens with that is I hate the rushing. So I hate rushing from like sample to sample to try and get this food. I'm not enjoying the experience. I'm not really enjoying the food. It's like I just need to get there so I don't have to wait in a huge line before they run out or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I wanted to eliminate that experience as well. And then good food. So I wanted really great food. But then that's where the chef piece came in. It had to be a small enough event that the chefs could hopefully put out a really good quality sample.
Yeah, an intimate event.
Yes, which I mean, it's about 500-ish people. But even at that, with the amount of samples they have to make, they can still do a really good job.
For sure.
And then the other piece was allowing the chefs to not worry about anything but creating their dish. So I pay for every single rental. That includes fryers, grills, all that kind of stuff,
That's awesome.
lamps, anything that they need that
They
I
just
can
need to show up.
rent. Yeah, they do that. If they need me to reimburse them for their health permit, I do that. I will take care of their napkins and their forks and their spoons, their hand washing stations, whatever.
Yeah.
I will take care of it
I
so
have,
that they can just come in and have fun.
and it's got to be a very limited amount of chefs that you can have there because it is empty.
We have about 14 to 15 chefs, and
Okay.
these are a lot of people that no longer do many events. Maybe they do one, like a Devour,
Yeah.
or they don't do any events
Right.
except for this one.
Because events are a lot of work for these guys.
It's a lot of work.
And
And
women.
they have to, they have to shut down their restaurant, or they have to hire extra staff. They have to then pay for the food. And we're also working on a sponsorship to help them with the food costs as well.
Very cool.
So I feel like when you take care of both of those aspects, you have the happy guests and
Yeah.
you have the happy chefs. And then the last piece is keeping it affordable so that any demographic that wants to try what Arizona has to offer, they can come in. But also we have a lot of experiences. So one of the things that I felt like was missing was being able to go into a food event and have it be more than just a food event.
Right.
So we have the whole smoked theme was kind of maybe you could call it like Instagrammable, but you have people smoking their food or cooking it over fires, right? Really
Yeah.
cool visual element. And then inside you have all these alcohol companies that are smoking cocktails. You're making your own succulent rings. You're watching a mentalist like work the crowd
Very
and bend
cool.
pennies.
Yeah.
You've got a flash mob coming in. You've got people making candles with bullets. So
Wow.
it's more than just experiencing food and drink, but it's like everything. It's very
That's
immersive.
great. How many years have you done this?
This will be the second year.
This will be the second year?
The first year, as far as everything I've heard from chefs and
Yeah.
guests, was a total hit.
And will you sell out prior to?
Yeah, always sell out.
Yeah. That's really cool.
Because you can't beat that. I literally had people coming to me last year and they were like, how much do we pay now that we're in? Because we can't imagine that the ticket would only cost like $40, $50 and we get everything included. It's not possible.
That's amazing.
It absolutely is possible.
And then what happens when you get the bug and you have such a successful event that you want to do like 2 or 3 more?
You don't.
You don't? Yeah. You're like, pump the brakes. I'm not doing it.
You wait and, make sure you got it down. And I mean, just doing that one event alone it's a lot of work, even though it's small. It's just me.
Yeah.
No, I'm doing it all by
You're
myself.
doing everything.
So I
Good
do
for
everything
you.
from, getting the chefs, getting the sponsors, to all the rentals,
Yeah.
all the everything.
That's great. You have a payroll of 1. I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot of work.
Let's get I want to talk about probably maybe some of the common myths or myths that might be in people's heads due to the fact that you're AZ Foodie, and one of my thoughts is I wanted to ask you how many times do you cook at home? How many times a week?
I mean, I cook very basic things.
Yeah.
So I might, like cook up a piece of chicken or some hamburgers for the kids. I might fry up a steak, but I'm not sitting there cooking like, chef looking meals with like a
Absolutely.
lot of ingredients and flavors. I'm a very simple cooking person.
And nothing wrong with that. Simplicity is actually better in a lot of frames. I think in people's minds, and they don't know a person, they just assume that you're just out eating everything all the time.
I do, though. I am.
Are you?
Yes.
Have you, actually, I shouldn't say have you, because I would have to assume there's been times where you've gone and you've tried stuff and like
Absolutely.
you just necessarily
Absolutely.
can't stomach it.
Not that I can't stomach it, but I'm disappointed in it. There was one recently I went to, and I had posted an initial picture on my Instagram story and I had to delete the whole thing just because the overall experience was so poor that I would not recommend it and I would never go back, because the food that they served was not, I don't think it was good, especially compared to the other options that are out there that I would recommend. So in those cases that does happen and I will not post it.
Yeah, it's important for you to be authentic and really tell the truth on what's going on. And how's your palate has to be like any and everything. I mean, is there anything you don't like as far as ingredients?
It went from like Red Robin was the best to, where I am today. So it's growing a lot.
Well, okay. So like for me, mushrooms, never, not going to happen. Nada, ever. Like, is there one ingredient or one type of food that you're just kind of like, I can't do it?
There's certain stuff that I don't always like to eat.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, when people do it well, sometimes it's shocking, like oysters. They're not my favorite to eat. I don't like to taste the sea.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah,
I will say it never bothered me, but during my first pregnancy, something happened, and like any fish smell, if it's even the slightest, or like fish taste, I can't. And it was never like that. Like I can't even cook fish at home anymore.
Yeah. Because
of whatever happened to my body during that it's crazy. So that's kind of gone through. And so now I have to be a little like, I have to know that the fish is good, or I get really scared, because then I'm like, I can't eat this. But, you go to like Nelson's and the oysters are great, and I'll slurp those down. That's fine.
100%.
The other thing I don't particularly care for is beets. I hate beets, and I'm going to say it right now. I don't like your beets, and I don't want to eat your beets. They taste like dirt. I don't care how you make them. That's all there is to it.
Oh, I'm not a big beet fan either. Although I did try this beet hummus that was made somewhere. I was
actually, you know what? Beet hummus is okay. I just had that too recently.
Did you?
Where was that?
Giving Tree?
No, there was somewhere else. I just had it.
Maybe it's becoming a new trend.
And yeah, that wasn't bad.
Yeah.
But I think because they put other stuff in there, like if you're slivering beets into my salad or whatever.
Did your parents ever like make you canned beets, like out of the can back in the day, where it was all like jello-y and
that's disgusting.
Horrible. Absolutely horrible. Yeah.
The other thing that I don't like, and I think actually Steven made this, or someone, it was at one of the first 7 Chef dinners way back when, was blood sausage. And I tried it. Like I will try anything. Like Binkley has given me, brains and the eye socket things. And like, growing up, because my dad's Jewish, we would eat cow tongue and all kinds of crazy stuff, So I will try anything. That doesn't mean I like it.
Organ meat is really good for you, by the way.
We grew up eating liver all the time too. Yeah.
My wife and I just went to the Arcadia meat market.
Yeah.
Is that, and wow, the selections that they have there is really cool. Crazy. I love the grass-fed, grass-finished stuff, but
it's good.
That kind of segues into my nerdism. And I want to ask you from your perspective, how do you approach health and wellness?
I don't know if you saw my post recently on that. I did it like a couple days ago.
Yeah. Tell us.
So, gosh, it's been a struggle, especially after having kids.
Yeah.
Like I said, it does a lot to your body, and eating the way that I did or do, it was hard to get back to where I wanted to be after the second kid, because you go straight into just eating whatever. For me, I have always had an unhealthy relationship with my body. People used to say when I was younger that my parents fed me very, very well. And they did. We ate a lot of really good food, but also a lot of like Costco food, because my parents would just go to Costco and buy those 24 packs of like muffins and croissants and,
miniature wieners.
It's delicious. Salami.
Yeah.
We love salami. Fry that salami up. Ooh. Anyways, so needless to say, like my unhealthy, image of myself started back then. And I think right when I moved down here, I was like tired of it. I was very overweight. And I went the opposite, where I went like, I'm not going to eat anything. I'm going to starve myself and I'm going to work out. And I lost all my weight at that point, and it was great. Probably wasn't the healthiest thing.
Yeah.
And so then now we head into like me doing this food thing. I'm not probably where I would like to be, I feel bloated a lot. I eat a lot of food. I see myself on camera and I'm like, but at the same time, I have to have that balance where I have to be like, it's okay.
Right.
I work out regularly. I try to eat healthy during the day or when I'm not doing events.
Okay. Yeah.
And then at events, just try and take like bites or still order like the salad or something like that.
Yeah.
And this was something I started back in December.
Okay.
Because I was having a lot of other like issues going on, and I went to see a naturopath. I was low in so much stuff, just like depleted.
Yeah.
My energy level was non-existent. I was really foggy, just all that kind of stuff was happening. And so it was important at that time to start taking, actually, I think it was mostly vitamin D. I was so deficient.
A lot of people are.
Yeah,
It's
vitamin
huge.
D changes so much.
It's the sun.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I take a bunch of vitamin D along with, like you saw, a million pills.
Yep.
And then switching my diet, so a lot more vegetables. I go to Kaleidoscope a lot. I'll drink the juices.
Yep.
I'll eat the protein bowls, all that kind of stuff.
And are you starting to feel a little bit of a difference?
Yes. So within the last couple months, I have definitely felt better. But it's still hard because sometimes you go out and the food's so good.
Right. And
it's hard
and
to
people probably
control
bring you a lot of
yourself.
stuff.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, have this big dessert or have this or that.
And
it's,
I love dessert. Yeah.
Yeah, we all love dessert.
So for me, I don't know. I still am trying to figure that out. But I went from like obviously being really strict and probably doing it poorly to like, I'm not even going to worry about it. I'm just going to do whatever. And then that's not great either with what I do. So
it's a struggle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
You know, there is no right or wrong answer to it. It's whatever you as a person, you know, can feel and feel better. And all the symptoms that you bring up, the fogginess and the tiredness and all that, I hear it so much from people. And at least you're cognizant enough to realize that it's like a lot of this has to do with what I'm putting in my body.
Yeah.
And so how do I counterbalance that the best that I can in order to keep doing what I'm doing, but also feel good for my family and for myself.
Yeah.
And all that. Yeah. As far as physical activity, what do you enjoy doing? Like walking the dogs? You have dogs?
I do have dogs. Well, I mean, we do that, but I do mostly Orange Theory right now.
Cool. Yeah.
So I don't know. I was looking at maybe doing some CrossFit, but I'm scared. I asked Flip to go with me, and
did you?
He said, "Hell no." There's a reason I go to Orange Theory, which is why I'm scared.
Yeah.
I don't know. CrossFit's a whole different beast.
Orange Theory is great. I've actually been dragging Aaron Chamberlain into my garage on Fridays, and so we'll work out at my garage or
He
whatever.
used to do CrossFit.
Yeah, he did. That's funny. And I've actually got him out trail racing now too.
Wow.
So I'll be putting together healthy hospitality, like community events for the hospitality industry to come out, run, walk, crawl, do any of that sort of stuff.
Skip.
Yeah, skip, you know, in an atmosphere, just to be more cognizant that you don't have to be unhealthy to be in the hospitality business.
Yeah.
You know, and everybody's aspect of healthy can look physically, it can look different, but there's, you know, a lot of people out there that are shredded and ripped, and it's like, no, that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about having your mental clarity and your mind and everything, you know, able to do what you do.
Yeah.
So,
But it's hard to be, like, I couldn't imagine being a lifestyle influencer or whatever and having to be in front of the camera constantly.
Yeah.
Like, then you feel this pressure constantly to look a certain way, and do all this kind of stuff. And I don't think people understand that perspective either. You know, my friends in that industry that are in front of the camera all the time and the struggles that they go through personally just to look a certain way.
for sure. Yeah. There's a lot of people on the other end of the phone that are looking at all your stuff thinking that this is just, you know, it's just magic. There's no, God, that's crazy. So I pulled up this quote and I love this. Everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear.
Yes.
I love that.
Thanks.
How did you find that, or what was the?
I can't remember where that quote is from, but when I can't remember, it was close to around the time I moved down here.
Yeah.
I remember really hearing that. You know what I mean? Like really hearing that.
Having it soak in.
And I was just, because of everything that happened in my childhood, I was a very fearful and insecure person. And what I found was that in order to get, you know, where I wanted to be or to have the opportunities that I had, it wasn't easy. And I couldn't be focused on like that fear of what people might think or what people might say or if I might fail. Like there's so much that goes into fear and what that fear is that revolves around you doing something. So I am probably very antisocial, but you would never necessarily know that because I'm always out. And actually that, speaking of like perspective and all that, when I first started going to media events and things, I am very bad in big groups. I shut down. I'm uncomfortable. If I don't know anyone, I don't want to talk to anyone. It's a terrifying thing. Yeah. And what happened was rumors that I was a bitch, right, or I was not a nice person. When the truth was I was just terrified and I didn't know anyone. Yeah. And then or that I hated that person. People would be like, oh, she hates us, so we don't like her either. And then you would see some people would actually try and get to know me and they'd be like, oh, you're not that person at all. Because one-on-one or in like small groups or maybe there's somebody I know, like I'm okay, I'm comfortable, but I'm still kind of quiet. Yeah. And so I think that people wouldn't expect that, right? That was something I had to overcome as well. For sure. Is groups like that. Being on TV was terrifying as well because I don't know what I'm doing. Like it's scary. What if I screw up? A lot of that's live. Right. So having to overcome stuff like that, even with the event that I did, like I wanted to do it so badly. I had massive fear months leading up to it being like, I'm just going to cancel. I'm going to give the money back. Wow. Like I can't do this. It kept me up at night. I couldn't sleep. Yeah. I literally woke up almost every day just being like, I can't do this.
Do you have like a business coach or anybody you talk to or?
No, my husband.
Yeah. I mean, no.
I learned, so I've done a lot of therapy, EMDR, a lot of work on myself. So I have people that I can talk to, but I also have this ability now to like work through it and understand it's just a fear and I have to continue to push, and some days are better.
Acknowledge it, tell it to go away. And so knowing that you have so many people that know you and you have very, recognizable hair, obviously. Yes. I mean, people know who you are, that sort of thing. So what is your advice to people that might be listening to this that do see you out and want to say something to you or approach you? I mean,
yeah, absolutely. I mean, a lot of people come up to us or me or with my family, whatever. I'm used to it. And it's great. I love talking to people or seeing them. Some people, it's still weird that people are like, oh, we couldn't come up to you because we were too scared. And I'm like, but why?
Yeah, I'm just a human eating food.
Yeah, you can come say hi. It's no big deal. You don't need to be, like nervous. I just eat food for a living.
Right.
And post about it.
That's great. You were awesome. I love getting to know you a little bit more. And so that being said, I want to shoot out some rapid fire questions to you, if that's cool.
Okay.
Okay. You ready for this?
As long as it's not like what my favorites are.
No, God, okay. No. Are you kidding me? I did my research. I'm not doing that shit to you. Okay. Would you rather go on a road trip in a vehicle like an RV, or would you rather go to Hawaii?
Hawaii. It's my husband's dream to do this RV stuff, and I'm not into it.
That's a completely random question. I had no idea.
It's his dream. Honey, when we get older, we're going to drive around in an RV. And I'm like, no, like you can, and I will meet you there and stay in a hotel.
That's great. Would you rather run a marathon or fast for 2 days?
I have actually run a half marathon. Okay. So probably that. Listen, you can talk to anyone in my family and they will tell you not feeding me is a poor life decision because hangry is real.
That's why I asked the question.
Hangry is real.
That is great. Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Trek. I grew up on that.
Did you? Okay. Tool or Keith Urban?
Tool. Oh, Keith.
Right answer. Aliens or Bigfoot?
Aliens. My husband is fearful of Bigfoot.
Okay.
I put him on blast right there.
Like if you guys go camping or whatever, he's thinking Bigfoot's back there or something.
Maybe. I don't know. He thinks it's real.
So I think he's real too. I think aliens are real. I don't know. Maybe I'm just a little bit nuts.
Well, aliens probably are real, but
yeah, probably so. We could be aliens for all we know.
Absolutely. I probably am an alien. You don't even know. Actually, I may be in a simulation.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
According to Elon Musk, right?
Yes, Elon Musk
We're all in
is definitely an
simulations.
alien. He's trying to get back home, creating all that space
Rockets,
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah. Would you rather go on a boating trip and like get all of your fish and make it, or would you rather go hunting and kill the animal?
Fishing.
Yeah, me too. Even though you don't like fishy smells, you'd be all right with that.
But they're fresh, so it's fine.
Yeah, so it's all good.
Yeah.
That's perfect. See, no food questions. I told
Well.
you. Well, okay, that was one. But anyways, thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Where can everybody find you besides the obvious? I mean, and the obvious.
Yeah. Well, Instagram at AZ Foodie. All other things like Twitter and Facebook are Arizona Foodie.
Okay.
And then online, ArizonaFoodieMag.com.
Okay.
.com.
And then you have a place on your website that they can join and get.
Yes.
Like I get your
The email
newsletters, which are
blasts.
great.
Email
Yeah,
blasts,
the
yeah.
email blasts are
Try and
great.
send
And
those
you
out
do
weekly.
those weekly.
Try to.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work too.
I love it. They got a little video of her in there talking and doing all that stuff. So,
Yeah.
no, that's
Those
great.
videos are fun.
Well, cool. Well, thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Are you going anywhere after this to?
I'm going out with my friend Jamie Soretta.
Cool.
And we are going to the planetarium
Nice.
to watch, I don't know, some show.
Some planetarium stuff.
I've
Some
never been.
aliens. Some aliens.
Yeah, we're going to watch
There you go. Aliens are coming. No, that's great. Well, it was very cool to have AZ Foodie in the podcast studio, our second one ever in here, actually.
Oh,
So
wow.
thank you, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Local 480. Podcast was sponsored by myself, Bar and Restaurant Insurance. If you do get a chance, please subscribe to the podcast and just give it a 5-star because it's great, because we had such a great guest. And, thank you, everybody, for listening.